Wait, before I get started, guys, I want to continue to demand justice for Breonna Taylor and also continue to inspire guys in the community to get out and vote. I also want to take a look at the term police brutality and maybe offer, a different perspective. Flashback to May 25th, 2020. We watched George Floyd, a human being, be violently killed. Um, the four men who nonchalantly terrorized Floyd belonged to a state-sponsored law enforcement that historically in America has targeted and profiled Black and minority civilian populations, throughout time. Now I'm aware that some Americans have the birthright and the privilege to see police officers as protectors, or maybe even peacekeepers, or even embrace, heroism. Unfortunately, I'm not from that side of America. I'm from the other side where people are in fear or in terror of the police, where you could be killed in your own backyard while reaching for your wallet. Your parents have to teach you certain behaviors because they're in fear that if you run into the police, you might not come home. And I'm aware that without being drafted by the Celtics, without being in the place I am now, that I would still be on that other side of America. So I want to take a look at the term police brutality and maybe offer another term as domestic terrorism, because that's what it was in the eyes of George Floyd, and that's what it was in the eyes of Trayvon Martin, and that's what it is in the eyes of a lot of people of color and minority communities on our own soil. So I'll be posting an article on my social for guys to learn and tune in more. But thank you guys for listening.
Thank you. All right, questions for Jaylen? Go, Chris Ryan.
Jaylen, just along those lines, as you've started to, evaluate the various aspects of systemic racism and bring your own experiences into it, what are the areas you mentioned? Police brutality, obviously, but what are the main areas of reform that you feel need to be taken, and why do you think that, despite many of these things being brought up over and over again, that there has not been the change that has needed to take place, despite a focus on a lot of these issues for a very long time?
I think it starts with the framework. Right now there's an enlightenment kind of going on and understanding. I guess amongst our American population, people are now aware that African Americans in this country have been treated unfairly. It's a surprise to most, but it's not a surprise to me. So I guess it kind of starts with the framework. How this country was kind of built on, starting from slavery to Jim Crow to separate but equal to where we're at now, kind of has trickled down the effects of systemic racism, and we still have some overbleeds into today's society that we can rectify with policy change. We can rectify with having minority. It's a lot of places that we can make change. I could get up here and speak for a while, but the bottom line is that we need to do it, and we need to do it now.
Question in person, Gary Washburn.
Jaylen, has this time away from family and away from just allowed you to really examine and to study some things when you have so much downtime and you can go read, or you can go online, you can do research? This last month allowed you to really dig in on that?
For sure. And even being here in this bubble, I also want to bring attention to mental health and awareness. Being here in this bubble, I guess people might not speak on it, but it is a challenge to a lot of guys. It's like you're at work all the time. Like a lot of guys, when they get done playing basketball, they want to be able to leave and forget about basketball for a little bit. It's impossible here in the bubble. You go chill, you might see Donovan Mitchell sitting there, and you like, man, I don't want to see him right now. But it kind of is what it is. So I definitely want to bring awareness to mental health, anxiety, in forms of depression. In times like this and places like this in the bubble, our athletes probably, struggle with that, and don't feel confident enough be speaking openly about it. So being able to talk to somebody, being able to find ways to replace those tires is conversations that need to be had, because I know the bubble, they make images of pool tables and swimming pools and all this other stuff. It's tough being here, being away from our family, being isolated from the rest of our society. It'd be interesting to see the long-term effects of, being in, this kind of conservative community.
Final question for Jaylen, John Krause.
Jaylen, you talk about mental health and you're talking about racism in the Black community. How difficult is it to get past the stigma that mental health is weakness when you have to be so especially strong when you're dealing with social injustice and these racial issues that you're dealing with?
That's a great question, John. I think it's very tough. African American people are very, very strong people. I mean, we survived slavery, we survived, separate but equal Jim Crow, all in between. So a lot of African American males, especially, feel like they have to portray masculinity and toughness in these environments, and then sometimes that leads to violence or, and things like that. Just because we got to feel like we gotta display this form of toughness all the time, and that in itself can lead to violence and things like that. So to answer your second question, I guess mental health and how that plays into it, just being open, having more conversations about it. People like me, people who have influence and using it, and making sure that when other guys, see me talking, that they know that they can relate because they might have went through it as well. So keep leading that charge. I see Kevin Love has spoken out about it openly, DeMar DeRozan, et cetera. And we got to continue to do that because there's people out here that need our help.
All right. Thank you, Jaylen.